So getting into property investing these days is an expensive venture. Like you literally need to have bags of money to be able to do it.
Yeah.
And what that means is if you don't have bags of money, you literally feel like you can't do it. And I say to people, it's better to own a third of an asset, 30% of something, than 100% of nothing. So I paid about 20,000 back then for property training.
Really?
The danger is when you're waiting to get the money together, the market is not waiting for you. I definitely have raised over £1 million just in JV money, not mortgage, just 10K, 5K, 20K, 30K. And if you live and work in a country, you should aim to own a piece of that country.
Yeah.
Don't just live here. Don't just work here, pay all those taxes. Gosh, all those taxes. Own a part of this land. In terms of how much somebody needs, it literally could be.
Welcome to the Takeoff Experience, where I sit down with highly driven people to talk about their journey, their failures, and their successes. If you want to take off in your career, your business, your finances, or your mindset, then this podcast is for you. This episode is sponsored by Money Hub, a platform that allows you to see all of your current accounts in one place and also provides you with smart money management tools to help you get right with your money. Welcome back to the Takeoff Podcast. We have a special guest in the building. We have Bimbola, who is a property investor. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good today as well. So you're telling me it was a very, very busy day for yourself today.
In fact, it's been a busy month. We've only just started, but today was quite busy. Today I had to take a break.
gosh, property investing is that tough now.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, but it's good work. I love it.
Okay, and we'll dive into that a little bit more. So can you tell the listeners, who is Bimbola?
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Bimbola Osage. So I consider myself a property entrepreneur.
Okay.
I say that because I do a lot of different things in the property space.
Okay.
So I started off being just an investor in property like most people. Get a bit of money, invest in property. Spent quite a bit on property education, and I realized I really love the whole concept of wealth creation. I just love property. I didn't realize it was something that was actually birthed into me like so many moons when I was a little girl. So I had my own personal experience of why I needed to be a property investor. But anyways, I started being an investor, and now I actually am a full-time property investor / developer. I love doing digital development and property. I train people on how to get started and different strategies in property. I'm a founder of an investment club, which is predominantly pulled together for funding property. I'm a joint venture queen.
Okay.
Myself.
Yep, which we'll talk about today.
I absolutely love joint venture in property. I mentor people. I have a mastermind program that people that are getting started or looking for a bit of hand holding can come on to. So I literally, and I source property for other people. I pull in joint venture, I train, I mentor. I literally my whole life now is literally about property. I dream property, I sleep property.
Wow. That's
but
crazy.
I love it. I love it.
Wow.
It's my full time.
That's insane.
It's a passion as well as a job for me.
Wow. Why property out of everything?
Okay, that's a good question. So I think what it was when I started, I found out the importance of wealth creation through property so many years ago. Read a book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which might be familiar to a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I started with that, and but then I began to see how having an asset or two can literally change your lifestyle, create passive income, and and I've always wanted a big family. So in my pursuit to get my big family, I knew that, and I was working full time in the city for financial services. I just knew that I needed to do something that would be able to tick all the boxes so I can have my own freedom, look after my family, still have a lot of money, and so on. And so for me, property feels, it ticks that box, so I can do it in my own time. I'm my own boss. It's a wealth creation for my family. I have great plans for my children, and I know that my plans require a lot of money.
Okay, a lot of money.
A lot of money, so I know I can get that in property if I
Yeah.
do it right. And then I also love the fact that ultimately you're also creating accommodation for people as well. We live in the United Kingdom, and as lovely as this country is, where the government is struggling meeting housing needs, so they obviously rely on private landlords to help. So I love the fact that I can do that as well.
Okay.
And then even more so recently, I love the fact that with property, it just helps to change the mindset of our people. My people, beginning to find their way, find their feet into creating wealth for themselves. Because of course we're, ultimately we're all immigrants, as our parents or our grandparents are. So being in a foreign country, sometimes you almost feel like I don't belong. You might feel like you don't belong, but actually if you're living here and paying taxes here and you're working here, you also need to own a piece of the land.
I agree.
Which is what
definitely
property,
should. Yeah.
So those are all the different things that for me property represents.
Okay.
It just represents freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's freedom, time. I love it.
Wow, that's such an epic answer. There's so many layers to it, and some of the things that I teased out from there: freedom, being able to, in terms of getting some passive income in it as well, and also being able to help people as well with it, which I think it's important to have a why as to why you do what you have, and you have multiple whys, which is probably why you are invested into it. I remember your talk on property venture, which is what we wanted to speak about today. And the reason why I wanted to speak to you about it is because a lot of people, I think the struggles for them when it comes to property is the deposit.
Yeah.
I know for a lot of people, I'll never get on the property ladder, deposit, da, 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 da. And I remember your presentation about property venture, but I just wanted to understand, not property venture.
Joint venture.
That's what it is. Yeah. Joint venture. So what is actually joint venture in layman's term?
Yeah. So in layman's term, joint venture, which is literally just an English word, two English words, is going into a venture jointly. That's the very basic way I can describe it. But in the property space, really what it means is you are looking to invest in property with other people.
Okay.
And of course, you don't just go into it with other people, as the name suggests, but it's a lot of due diligence that has to be done. But ultimately, what it is you invest, basically a group, either two or more people coming together with a common aim and goal of owning an asset, which is a property. Now, how they do it, how they contribute to it, what each person's doing can differ from project to project or property to property, but ultimately it's a group of people coming together to buy a property, to own an asset. Okay. That's literally what it means.
Okay, cool. And how do people go about doing this? If somebody wants to start, a beginner,
So I want to go back to, first of all, why anyone should even consider joint venture in property. Because if you think about the fact that when we talk about property, we're talking about ownership. And for most people, when you think about ownership, you just think about yourself, that you think, I want to own an asset. But then now I'm telling you that you're now looking to own an asset with somebody else. So it's a difficult concept for a lot of people, especially if you're not used to, you're not in that you're not used to that kind of way of living. Where if you want to own, you think about, I want to own, and just keep it pushing. But actually, there's a reason and there's an importance and there's advantages of joint ownership. But basically, so I just wanted to put that down as a foundation. Now, we're based in the United Kingdom, and the property market has been on steroids. For literally
it's been crazy.
The last few years, it's just going up and up and up and up and up. And then our dear Chancellor and the people in the government are also making it easier for us as well. Because the stamp duty has increased. Stamp duty tax has increased so much in the last couple of years as well. So getting into property investing these days is an expensive venture. You literally need to have bags of money to be able
Yes,
to
you
do it.
Yeah.
And what that means is if you don't have bags of money, you literally feel like you can't do it.
Yeah.
So most people that you speak to, their biggest challenge is I just don't have the money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one, I'm trying to save up for the deposit.
Mm-hmm.
If you're investing in property here in the United Kingdom, typically you need to have 25% deposit, which is a lot of money.
It's a lot.
Then secondly, it's 25% of the property price. Now, the property price as of today, like the average, depending on where you are, you're looking almost $250,000, $500,000, depending on what part of the country you're in. So do the math. 25% of 250, for example, is a lot.
Yeah.
And then stamp duty is now 3% as well. So it's like the cost of getting into any property deal is enough to get everybody saying, look, I can't do this.
Yeah.
So, but why should you allow that? Why should that limit you is my question. Rather than say, well, I can't do it because of all of these challenges, why don't you bring what you have?
Yeah.
Find somebody else that has similar to you and maybe somebody else that has similar to you. And then you come together and try to own this one asset.
Yeah.
And I say to people, it's better to own a third of an asset, 30% of something, than 100% of nothing.
Yeah.
So when you don't do it, you own 100% of nothing. But if you do it with the little that you have, at least you have something. You have a share of something.
Yeah.
So joint venture in today's economy, I say is a must. You have to do it. Like it's no longer a choice. That's what Bimbola says. It's no longer a choice. It's like you have to do it. Otherwise, you will never get into the property game. Yeah. And I say that because obviously never is quite a strong word. So I don't want anyone to quote me and say, Bimbola said you can never do it. But basically what I'm saying is, even if you have a bagload of money, even if you have 100,000, 200,000, you will find that once you've bought one or two properties, you're out of the game. Yeah. So unless you're going to be able to replicate that 200,000 very quickly, you might need to get into a joint venture with somebody else to move on rather than waiting. Because I think the danger is when you're waiting to get the money together, the market is not waiting for you. Yeah. So imagine you're waiting to save up 50,000 to get into the property. By the time you've got your 50,000, the current market value at that point in time probably requires 70,000. Yeah. So you're like, oh my God, so now I have to wait again for another 20. So rather than do that, just get into it. Yeah. So that's one of the reasons why I say joint venture is a must. Another thing I say, or another reason why joint venture in property is also something to consider is it's the risk element. Yeah. Like day in, day out, we hear, it's going to be a recession. We don't know what the market is doing. We don't know what's going on. And that's the truth. No one knows what's going on. Yeah. So one of the things that's caused is the fear of actually getting into the game. Yeah. So you get a lot of people say, well, I just want to wait because the market might crash but actually the reason why you're wanting to wait is because of the fear of getting in, the fear of taking the risk. However, if you do it with other people, you have joint risk. That's true. Yeah. It's not just your risk. It is, you're in it with somebody else. There's something so powerful about doing things with other people. So yeah, you get into it because it's a joint, you get to share the risk as well as share the rewards. You get to do it now. So there's no longer a need to procrastinate because you can come in with your 20K, 30K, whatever amount you have, and you can get into it. And then also, like I said, 100% of nothing is crazy. Like why 30% of something is much more better than 100% of nothing. So just do it, even if it's just a slice of the game. Now the other thing that joint venture is really good for as well, especially for beginners, is even if you're a beginner and you want to take the risk, sometimes you don't even know what you're doing. That's true. So by going into with somebody else that knows helps you to learn. And you learn with something with a little bit of money as opposed to learning. I hear sometimes beginners wanting to go straight into major developments. How are you going to do that? Start small, learn how it works, and then you push yourself forward to do bigger. So going into joint venture gives you an opportunity, especially if you're a beginner, to learn from people that are experienced and learn how it's done, learn through the, what's going on. Learn. Some people, a lot of us paid thousands of pounds to invest to get training, which I totally support. But there's another element of training that you can actually pay, you can actually invest your money and learn
Okay.
as you're investing.
Yeah.
So I paid about 20,000 back then for property training.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah, I did.
20?
So imagine if
You can tell me offline who that was that charged you 20,000.
Nowadays learning property is cheap. Back in the days, you pay a lot of money.
That is so ridiculous. That's
It's
a
not.
deposit.
No, but it's not. So that's the thing. That's the mind. In fact, I need to talk about that. That is a mindset.
You think it was worth it?
It was worth it.
Okay. If you made more than that, then that's fine.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You make more. Because when
Okay.
you go for training, no matter how much you've paid in training, it's the value. It's not so much how much I've paid, it's the value. So I paid quite a lot in property training, and I'm still paying for training. I still get opportunities where I have to pay, and it wasn't just one training, by the way. It was a series of strategies plus mentorship.
Okay.
Yeah,
fair,
that's why it was that much.
Okay.
But yeah, of course, I've made a whole lot more than that, even in the first year of my training. So it's a mindset shift as well, because it's not, you don't look at the price of the training, you look at the value of what you can make. But yeah, so I was just saying that imagine if I had the 20,000 in today's world, I could maybe invest with a mentor, invest with somebody else that knows what they're doing, and I'm then learn the strategy, because now not only am I learning, I'm not learning the theory now, I'm learning the practice, so I can literally see how it's being done. So sometimes joint venture actually gives you an opportunity for you to learn the trade with your own money. So I think it's like a double whammy, right? So you're getting trained, plus you're invested in the opportunity. So so those are some of the reasons why I absolutely I preach joint venture all day, every day. I want to share a story, if that's okay, about how I got into joint venture. So like I said, I've been investing on my own for the longest time, built myself a nice sizable portfolio in the millions. So I was already kind of okay. But of course, in property, you're always never okay. You always want to make more. You want to increase that portfolio. So anyway, so there was one particular opportunity that I came across. So basically, I was with my mentor and we'd gone out to do some viewings, and the whole aim of that weekend was to get some good deals in the portfolio. So prior to the actual meetup, I had to fill out a form and just basically tell, literally relay everything that I have, everything that I'm looking to do, my goals, my, it's a way for the mentor to look at what do you have now and what is your goal. So he already saw my portfolio and what I was trying to achieve. And I already had in my mind that I was just going to get one other property just like what I've been doing. But I think my mentor felt, no, this is time for you to push yourself. So there we were looking at properties that were like 3 times what I'd budgeted to buy. And I'm like, why are we looking at this property? I ain't got the money. And we found a really good one. We found 2 good opportunities. And he said to me, and I said to him, look, I don't know if I have the money for this. And bearing in mind that back then it wasn't even as much stamp duty. And then we looked at the deal and he's like, look, this deal is good. This is a great deal right here. Do you not know somebody else that has money that can join you on this deal? And when he asked me that question, that was the first time that was the first time I ever thought of doing anything with anybody else. It wasn't something I thought of. But he asked me the question and I said to him, well, I'm sure I have friends that have money, but I just don't know if this is something they might be interested in. And that was the truth. I just didn't know if they would be interested. And I've never had that conversation with any friend. So he challenged me. And I wasn't going to say no. I was going to take that challenge. So anyway, I ran off and I obviously at this point we've worked the numbers. We know what the return on investment will be. So I went off and I spoke to maybe about 5-6 people. I kid you not. Literally every single person I spoke to was game. It was like, what? You mean you guys we could have been doing this for years? Every single person. I only spoke to a handful. Obviously, I picked people that I knew that they were already thinking property, we're already talking that kind of language. They already had a portfolio, some sort. So I thought, well, they might be more interested. But to my surprise, every single person said yes. So now I'm thinking, okay, how do I? And I only just wanted 2 people. So anyway, I looked into it again, and I thought, okay, so I kind of tried to vet the actually it was 4 people, not 6. I spoke to 6 people, but 4 people said yes. So I tried to vet the 4. So I eventually settled on the 2 that actually, a really close friend of my childhood friend, as well as a relative. So I thought, okay, I'll stay. We'll do this, and I prayed about it as well. So anyway, But what then happened was, so we embarked on this deal. Now, remember, this is a deal that I never in my life would have done because I just didn't have the money.
Yeah.
I never would have considered it was on my own. And if he hadn't pushed me or challenged me to find other people. So we embarked on this, and it was, it was a really big opportunity.
Yeah.
I underestimated how much it was going to cost to do the work. So we got to the point where now, if I was doing this stuff by myself, I probably would have been like, I can't do this anymore, because it was a lot. It was literally it was 3 times what I budgeted for, and it was also 3 times expense as well. It was, we needed builder planning, we needed everything. But having those 2 people really helped, because what it meant was we were sharing the risk, and the problem wasn't just my problem; it was all of our problems. So we made it work. Do you understand? We made it work, and this particular deal was such a good deal that for the longest time, and probably even till today, is one of my best performing property.
Wow.
And that was because it was a big deal. So if you're looking to ever get into a big deal, you want to get into it with other people, because it's going to require a lot more than perhaps what you can handle by yourself.
Yeah.
So anyway, we started this project. It took us about almost 2 years to get in and out of it. It was a lot of ups and downs, but it was such an amazing, in fact, this property was valued at $750,000.
Wow.
And this was like how many years ago? I never could have done that by myself, ever could have thought I could do that by myself. But I was so glad that I did with other people. And that was my first JV, and I thought, wow, you mean we can do stuff like this just by asking 1 or 2 people to get involved? And for me, it was like it was an eye opener, because I realized that if I hadn't joined forces with other people, I never would have thought that deal was something that I could do. I probably would have left it and walked past it. I probably would still be doing the small deals that I've been doing till date, because again, there's something about once you've done something, you feel like you can do it again. So it just kind of opened me up to a bigger world that I didn't know existed. Which meant more money in my pocket, more opportunity to work with other people, just seeing the possibility as well. So since that day, I realized that, wow, there is a reason why certain communities do this all day, every day. It is such a powerful concept. And that joint venture still exists. Well, I mean, it's been 6 years now. We're still here. We're still going strong. And it was, it was a game changer for me. It literally changed it changed my portfolio size. It changed the way that I looked at investment. It changed my mindset as well. I didn't have to play small anymore. I could play big now, because it's not just me, other people, like I've got a gang. It's literally like, when young boys and girls are in a gang, the kind of power that it gives them. When you're in a gang or in a group, you have more, what's the word? More lever. I don't know if that's not actually, that's a slang, isn't it? You just have more, you feel like you can take on anything, because you understand the power of people, of a team. And that's literally what joint venture is. You can do, so now I look at bigger deals or bigger opportunities. I look at opportunities that require sometimes almost 200,000 just to get a property from start to finish. That's not something that most people can do on their own. But when you get a group of people, it's possible. And you get a lot more money as a result. And then, it's exciting as well, just seeing what you can build. So I absolutely preach it all day, every day. It was such a great experience.
Wow. That's such a fantastic story. And was that, it sounded like a renovation project?
It was actually a commercial. So it was a commercial property. That we changed into residential.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then we turned it into, so it's a commercial building. Over 3 floors. So we had to go through the whole, go through the planning to get a change of use. And then we turned it into HMO, which is your room by room lets. 6 beds. Some of them were ensuite. And then we had another 2-bed flat. And, so our short-term goal at the time was just to have the 3, on the 3 floors, different strategies. So service accommodation on 1 floor and HM was on the 2 other floors. And at some point in the future, we could then turn it into 3 2-bed flats.
Okay.
So the opportunity is endless. It wasn't something that I would have done on my own at the time.
It's sounds like a lot of stress admin for one person, even if you had the money.
Exactly. Unless you already experienced as well. At the time I wasn't experienced. It was actually my first opportunity, something bigger than your typical buy to lets. Okay. Unless you're experienced and you know what you're doing, and even with experience, you still have a team of people working with you. It's fantastic. So joint venture could be where people come together to invest. Mm-hmm. Joint venture could also be you as a person investing with your builder. Mm-hmm. Or, so sometimes you have people, have builders that would joint venture with a developer or an investor to make something happen. It literally is people coming together, combining their resources to actually achieve the aim or the goal of owning or refurbishing this asset to make money. Yeah.
What you said vetting, how did you vet them?
Okay, so at the time, some of the questions that I had were, so we were taking on this big project. So one of my vetting question, or one of the ways to vet out, was some of the people that said yes were, although they were landlords, they had the properties, but they probably just had the one. I think one of them just had the one property, if I can remember correctly. So in the eye of the mortgage provider, she wasn't as experienced. Okay. So it was easier to just say, well, because you're not that experienced, we might not be able to get this. Because at the time, we also considered everyone being so every one of us getting the mortgage as a team. In the end, we didn't actually do that. In the end, I got the mortgage on behalf of the group. Okay. But at the beginning, one of the things that we're looking at is, we all get the mortgage, which would give us a bigger, strengthen us with the mortgage provider. So one of the vetting question was, are we experienced landlords? And experienced mean, do we have a portfolio? Okay. So the other two people that eventually invested with did have a portfolio, and then quite closer in terms of relationship anyway. So it was easier to do my first JV with them. Yeah.
Okay. So for those people that are not experienced, what do they do? Because they're like, we can't get our own property. So what do we do in that situation?
There are so many different options. Yeah. So if I was so now today I run a lot of JV property joint venture groups. Okay. We have people in there that are still renting, so they actually have no experience whatsoever of buying a property. We have people there that just have the one property, which is the property where they live in, so they have no experience of buy to let. So now there are ways that we can structure our joint venture deals to accommodate for the less experienced, just to kind of get them up to speed. So it's not a showstopper that you don't have. In fact, it's even better that you have no experience, because then you're learning a lot more. But I think in the instance that I gave you, the first instance, that was one of the,
because it was a big project.
And then it was also my way of vetting as well. It was just like, okay, how do I get rid of these two people? And the thing was, if I know what I knew, so if I knew what I know now, I wouldn't have sent two people away. I would have bought another property. Okay. Like, do you understand? Like, I
just kept them and say, okay,
we just say, look, you two, we do this together. You two, we do this. So this thing about mindset is amazing, because if you don't know, you just lost up and just lose.
You don't think about it. People had money ready to give up, and you kind of said,
do you understand? Like, whoever. So now
instead
I never
of thinking,
say
let
no
me
to money.
put half here, let me put another half.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's true. Yeah.
Now I never say no to money, but
I mean, you can't, right? That's what they say. They always say use other people's money.
Right? Other people's money all the time.
Okay. So you mentioned the mortgage wasn't split. So how did it actually work in your situation? If it was just yours? Because I think a lot of listeners would want to understand, like, what happens if somebody doesn't pay? What do you do in those kind of situations?
So I'm going to describe what a typical, very basic joint venture would look like. So if I found a deal today, and let's just say, for the sake of simplicity, we need 200,000 to get into this deal. So get into this deal would be 25% deposit, the stamp duty, the legal cost, the brokerage cost, every cost, and plus we want to renovate or whatever we want to do. Anyway, we need 200,000 cash as well as the bank's money. So what do? I pull together a presentation and say, look, these are the numbers. This is what we need for this property. This is the actual property. This is why I feel it's a great investment, and so on and so forth. And let's just say 5 people say, oh, do you know what? I'm actually quite interested in this opportunity, and I've got 40K. So that's 40 times 5 is to 100,000. So we've got 4 people or 5 people and they've got the right amount of money. So what we do is we set up a limited company.
Okay.
So not one of us would be the owner per se of the of this property. We have to set up a limited company, and you call that a special purpose vehicle, SPV. So we set up a company, which is quite easy to do on the company's house website. So we set up a company, and then every single person that wants to be part of this joint venture is becomes a shareholder of that company. Right now, in setting up a company, you need to assign a director. So you can either have the 5 people as directors, or at least you need to have one person as a director. Now, what is important in setting up a director is you need someone with the strongest skill in terms of financial. So they've got an income, they can perhaps even prove that they have the deposit, or at least we can work through with the broker on that one. They might already be a homeowner. They can get a mortgage, they got good credit. So someone is in a strong position. If you can't find one person, then maybe you bring in 2 people. The less people, the better, to be honest, because it's less hassle from the banks. But if you have to use all 5, then so be it. But you try to start with the very minimum. So you assign a couple of people that are directors. So that's where, for people that perhaps don't have the experience or don't have the income or don't have the money or whatever, they don't have to be directors. You just find someone else in the group that can be. So in my instance, when I started doing my joint ventures, I would easily stand in the position as the director because I can tick all the boxes. So we assign a director to this company, and then you start the mortgage process. So what the banks then are looking for is to vet the director on behalf of the company. And then eventually will say, yes, we're happy with what we've seen. They all issue the mortgage. So the mortgage is issued to the company. The company buys the property. So the company owns the property, but every single person is a shareholder of that company. So if I'm a 20% shareholder, I own 20% of everything the company owns, including the asset. So this company could go on and own other assets, but if it's just that one asset that he owns, I own 20% of the company and whatever the company owns. So that's how it works. So the property is not in anyone's name. It's actually the company's asset. Name, However, whoever stands in as a director provides a personal guarantee. To say, should it all go pear-shaped, I will be held responsible. Now, when I do joint venture, we also support that with a legal contract, the joint venture contract, because in this contract then has all of the roles and responsibility, and should in case, so if one person is given a personal guarantee for the company, everybody needs to be liable as well. So we put that in our contract. So as far as the bank is concerned, they're only after they get director, but in our contract, the director is after everyone, just to cover the director's back. But basically, it's literally, the property is purchased by the company. The company then will go ahead and, so we are the company basically, but it's just, to make it a very smooth and a very easy process, you set it up as a company. So that's how you do it. So typical JV, in terms of timeline, I would always say 5 years minimum. If we're holding on to the property, if we're selling the property, it could just be once the property is sold, the joint venture is dissolved. So if 4 people have come together to buy a property, do some work, sell it to make a profit, the joint venture dies when the property is sold, unless they choose to carry on onto another deal. But again, all of this will be stipulated in the contract. If we're looking to hold the property, so we want to hold the property and rent it out, then I would say let's start with a minimum or 5-year time span. The reason for the 5 years is because in most cases, when you're looking at mortgage, especially with like a fixed mortgage, you're looking at either a 2-year or a 5 years. If you go for a 2 years, before you know it, 2 years is done. Like 2 years comes so quickly. It
comes really quickly.
Quickly. So the point is, why don't we go for the 5 years? So at least we give it time to grow. We give it time to, appreciate and value. We actually get some learning in that time, to get the mortgage, get the rental, and, do all of that, enjoy the property. And then after 5 years, we can dissolve the partnership or the joint venture, or we can decide to carry on. Or we might decide to buy another property. You can decide whatever you want, but basically you need to, with your joint venture, you need to have a timeline. So start time, end time, and how do you exit after the 5 years? Can you exit before the 5 years, for example? In most cases, I would say no. And we say no because if everyone had a reason to exit, the thing would die.
Yeah.
In a year or
So you have
two,
to do your really strong vetting.
So you gotta, you gotta be strict. It's almost like when you put your money in a fixed deposit, like you gotta get it out until after it. Yeah, because life happens, right? So life will happen for sure to people in any journey. Life happens to everyone. So we ideally don't want a situation where life has happened to one person in the group, and then now the whole group has to be disbanded because of this one person.
Yeah,
it just makes it a bit messy. So why don't we just make sure that it's tight, it's fixed, everyone's in for the duration of the time that they've said it in. If anything happens to you, it's fine. Just deal with it in your own personal space. Let the business carry on running. And then after the 5 years, if that's what you've agreed, you can decide to dissolve the partnership, or you can decide to go ahead. It just depends on what like you can. I mean, like I said, my first joint venture was meant to be a 5-year deal. We're in the 6th year and we're nowhere close. We've not even had a conversation about going a separate way, because we're making the money. We're happy. The money's coming. Like, why do I care? The property price is going up. The property is appreciating in value. We're still kind of young as well. We don't need to sell. We're all still working. We don't need that money straight away. So it also depends on the circumstances of people in the joint venture. But it's such a powerful concept, just being able to get into it.
What if I told you that there was a platform that allows you to see how you're spending all of your money across all of your accounts, especially at a time where the cost of living is at its highest that it's been in years? What if I also told you that this platform also allows you to see how much income you are getting every month across all of your accounts, as well as helping you to set budgets for all of your expenses? It doesn't stop there though. This platform also helps you to send a record of your rent payments to Experian so that it is recorded on your credit report, which can help to boost your credit score. This platform sounds amazing, right? Well, this platform is called Money Hub, which you can download for free by tapping the link in my description. You get access to premium features free for 6 months, 6 whole months with no auto renew. And then if you decide that you love the app and the platform and you want to continue with premium features, then it will only cost you £1.49 per month. That is the deal of the century, right? Well, go and download the Money Hub app right now.
In terms of how much somebody needs, it literally could be anything. It just depends on the deal.
Really? How low would you say? Because that's the most. I know that's what listeners want to know. Like, how low
I'll share a story. So if you had asked me this question maybe a year back, I would have said, how low would be maybe 30K, 40K. I would have given you a number. But actually, I don't have a number.
Okay.
I'll share a story why. So I had this opportunity where I was looking to raise, I think about 180 or thereabouts. I was looking to raise a bit, a chunk of money. And I just figured I could get, let's just say 4 people to bring this cash. And that would be the joint venture group. Now, so now I'm just throwing numbers out. Now, one of let's say one of the 4 who was saying she was looking to raise 20, she was meant to put in 20. So one of the joint venture partners was meant to come in at 20,000. And she said she was really excited about the opportunity. She really was, for her, she'd been wanting to get into property for the longest time. Yeah. And it's like, well, if I can do this with 20K and just get a share, I'll do it today. So she was excited. So she said, okay, well, give me a couple of days. I need to get the money together and I'll come back to you. And then a couple of days came and she sent me a text and said, okay, so far I've got 15,000 and I'm just trying to get the remaining 5. Can you just give me a few more days? And she was saying to me, when do you need the money? So I said, well, the deal is still on the table. Just let me know what you want to do. Because I could tell that she really wanted to do it. Now, one of the things that for me personally, Bimbola Osage, is I just have this desire to get as many of us into it. If you have to drag yourself into it, you have to get all the money in your savings, get in, like literally just get in, right? Yeah. So I was, on that occasion, I understood her situation. I'm like, okay, just don't worry, just see what you can do. So anyway, that same day, another friend of mine called and said, hey, I've been trying to get into property for the longest time. And this friend actually doesn't have, she's actually she's not even a first time owner. She's still renting. So she still has a long way to go, but she really wants to get in. Yeah. So she said, look, I really want to get into property. I know I don't have enough money. Is there anything I could do with £5,000?
Okay.
And then I said to her, oh, gosh, £5,000 is like, there's nothing you could do. £5,000 doesn't really do much, does it? So I kind of said that to her. And then I got off the phone. And then something, I just had a thought, she's got £5,000. The other lady's stressing for the lack of £5,000. Can't you just bring her in?
Yeah.
And I thought, actually, that's a good point. So I called the one with the 15 and I said, look, I know you're still trying to get your, you're really trying to get this 20 and I see your struggle. And your £5,000 short. Do you know what? Somebody I know has £5,000. Let her come in. You guys will split your share, but at least it takes off the stress of you trying to find this £5,000 by all means. And that was it. Wow. So I called the 5,000 lady and said, hey, it's your lucky day. I think we might be able to do something with your 5K.
Wow.
And that was it. Now, on a good day, on any day, I wouldn't have thought £5,000 would do anything. But on this particular occasion, she had exactly what was missing. Okay. So that was it. She got in. Now, the beauty of this is this lady, she has invested at least maybe about another 15,000 since then.
Since then, wow.
Yeah, because what it did to her was he gave her the confidence. He just gave her it's like a light bulb went off in her head and she's thinking, oh my God, I just bought a share of a property with just £5,000. I need to find more money. She literally calls me and say, hey, I've got £10,000 now. What can I do? Like literally. Wow. So it's the power of what happens when you get into JV. Because on a good day, £5,000 is nothing. Like literally, you can't even change a bathroom with £5,000, let alone buy a property. But that is the advantage of what this did to her. Okay. And literally, they got into the deal. So I would say there's no amount that is too small. Okay. In fact, I had another one, my second or my third JV, where I'd offered on this property, excited. The agent is calling and telling me, hey, I'm like, have you got the mortgage? I'm like, hey, I don't have the money. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I've offered on this property. I need 140. I obviously don't have 140 at the time. I need to pull up a few people. So I called a friend, or in fact, a friend called. We were just talking. And I said, oh, by the way, I've got this deal. I'm looking for 140. If I can get 4 people with 35K each, I think I'll be good. And she said to me, give me till tonight. I'll call you back. Wow. Then she called me before tonight. I said, hey, do you mind if it's a group of us that bring in the 35? At that point, I'm like, I don't care. Just give me 35,000. Yeah. And that's exactly what she did. She literally gathered a group of them, 10,000 here, 10,000 there, 5,000 there. Wow. Got 35K in that group. And she just came and I said, look, as long as it's 35K and I only have to deal with one person, I'm good. And she came. So for me, it's not, I don't think there's any amount that is too small, especially when it comes to JV. I think it's just about getting people into the space where, look, any amount of money you have, it's your responsibility to ensure that your money works hard for you. Yeah. Because you've worked hard to get that money, right? So you have to make sure that money works hard for you. So wherever you can put it in, just do it. Wow. Like there's no amount that is too small, and of course we always never say no to money anyway. Yeah. Exactly. Never say no to money. So bring it on. 5K, 20K, 30K. Wow. Bring it on. Yeah.
Wow. Those are such powerful stories. And I like the fact that you mentioned different people from different points in their lives and still being able to get onto the property ladder, which is why I wanted to speak to you today about joint venture. So you mentioned you have joint venture groups. So that's one way of getting in on it. Is there any other ways that you know of how people can find themselves joint venture opportunities?
Just your network. Yeah. So most of the time, it's literally just friends coming together. Yeah. So again, there's something in our community where we don't talk about money enough. And if you don't talk about money, how do you talk about investing when you don't even talk about normal money, like just plain old money? It's
true. So
if you start to talk about money, you'll find out that you can actually start investing with people. So in fact, just last week, I found this property. I'd gone to view this property, put the numbers together, and I'm thinking this is a fantastic opportunity. And it just so happened that someone called and said, hey, I've got some money now. Do you have anything available? So I sent it to her. No, actually, I had a conversation with her. And to be fair, she didn't have enough to cover the deal on her own. So I was speaking to her about JV and said, look, you can JV with other people, blah, blah, blah. And then at some point, we started to talk about her family. And she goes, actually, I can ask my sister to, join forces with me. And literally they're taking the deal. They've taken off the deal now, and they're going to do it by themselves, as siblings. So one of the biggest or the easiest one is with your siblings.
Okay.
I have cousins. I have, people who are straight after uni. Everyone's gone out, left the family home. They're renting. And I'm like, why are you guys renting? If you're all working, you can actually buy a property together. Like you don't have to leave mommy and daddy's house to rent. You can leave mommy and daddy's house and buy. Yeah. And then you're just gonna take it from there. So you start off with your sibling, your friends as well, close friends. Because most times you see young adults would happily share with a friend, maybe after uni, or maybe someone you went to uni with. You will happily share with it. So why don't you just buy? Yeah. Together, buy. And
I think a lot of people are scared because of the mortgage and
hence why you do it together. You get a few people, so you can JV with people that which is probably the easiest. I feel like it's the easiest. Although sometimes people find it even more difficult to talk to people they know about money. So I guess it's one of those things. Yeah, but it's actually something that we need to do. We need to talk to friends, and we need to talk about money. We need to be comfortable talking about money.
I agree.
Yeah, we just need to be really comfortable talking about money. The thing about money is, I think everyone wants to be seen as doing well financially. But 100%. The truth of the matter is, every single person on this earth goes through periods where they may not be doing well financially. They may have a bit of a cash flow, including the investors, like including seasoned investors, including multimillionaires. People go through, different seasons. So we don't ever feel shy to talk about money. And it's not, and also money is not about how much you earn. It's not so much how much you're earning or making, it's how much you're keeping, how much what you're doing. So someone can, so maybe someone that earns really well might be okay to talk about money, but perhaps they're not even as rich as someone that isn't making as much. So
it's true.
Let's get into the habit of talking about money. So when you start to talk about money, you find that you can do deals with your friends, with family, and also you can do joint venture with strangers. Yeah. If you're going to do it with anyone, actually, strangers or people there's got to be due diligence that has to be done anyway. So even with your family members, even with relatives, you have to do your due diligence. Don't go to the
bad family members not bad family members, but family members that are known to be bad with money.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't. You have that gut feeling it's not gonna.
Then you don't do it.
It's gonna be a problem.
So again, and I like the fact that you mentioned gut feeling as well, because that's not something that you can explain to people. Yeah, it's a very personal thing. So you have to listen to your guts as well. You have to listen to because you just have a feeling when something isn't right. Sometimes you can't explain it. So like I wouldn't JV. So even though I don't say no to money, but that's just a joke actually. I would say no to certain money if I don't feel like I'm going to have peace. Yeah. And I've had JVs that could have potentially gone wrong. I don't know if you have, you were going to ask me that at some point. Yeah. And that's because even from the onset, I just didn't feel peace about it. Okay. And I just couldn't explain it.
Okay. What happened there? Why did it sort of go wrong? So if you can explain some of the pitfalls for people.
So the amazing thing about JV is it's good when it's good.
Yeah. Okay, yes. It's good when it's making money. Everybody's staying in.
Exactly.
They, contribute to the mortgage.
Bad is worse. It's not good. You know. So of course there's so many things you can do to mitigate the risk of it going bad. Like having a solid contract, talking about everything from the onset, doing your due diligence. And there's so many things you can do. I think a lot of time when it goes bad, perhaps we haven't done our due diligence to the nth degree. Because sometimes you just kind of let certain things slide and then you regret it later on. But there are still instances where it could go bad. And that's just not out. That's just not in, could maybe not be in your control, But so one of my almost bad story with a friend, a really good friend of mine, and she's still a friend of mine.
Okay.
But we ain't gonna do business together.
Okay.
So it was we both wanted to invest in property. We both, I saw the deal. I was happy, presented it to her. She was happy to go with it. We started the process. It was meant to be actually, so the deal itself was meant to be buy a property from the auction, do it up and sell it. So it wasn't meant to be like a long-term JV. So we started the process. But unfortunately for us, the getting the mortgage or getting the bridge loan to get it in auction didn't quite go as we would have loved for it to have gone. So there were lots of delays from the bank, a lot of questions. In fact, we had to change lender in between the transaction, which, as you know, if you're buying a property with auction, there's a timeline you have to adhere to.
Very quick, and
then you have to do it very quickly. So it wasn't looking good. But it's one of those things in property, you don't get good days all the time. You just find a way around it.
Yeah.
So this friend of mine, she was somebody that likes to be involved in every single thing. Okay. It's like a control freak, if I can use that word. Okay. Which isn't always a bad thing. Yeah. But it was just too much. She wasn't being a team player. So remember, it's with the JV, you have to be a team player. You can't do what you would do. It was just, you have to carry people along. You have, so she wasn't being a team player. She was getting really frustrated with the broker, with the lawyer. A lot of blame throwing up and down because, again, and to be fair, we were in a very tight situation. So I think naturally the human mind likes to put blame on people when things aren't going well. So there was a lot of that on her part, and she just wasn't being a team player. It was just getting a bit annoying, and for the rest, so for me being the JV manager, I was still able, and she's a friend of mine. I was able to control and just kind of, control the situation, but at the same time, I was also mindful that there were other people in the JV as well. So it wasn't just you and I, there are other people we need to respect. We need to carry people along, we need to respect, and so on and so on. So from the very onset, I was thinking, I don't think this is going to work, Wow. I think we're going to have a lot of clashes. Yeah. So I was already getting a feel about that. But at this point, we had committed to the sale. So I was thinking, okay, well, maybe we can just write it out and so on and so forth. And I remembered one day I was speaking to another friend. I was just really stressed out. I was just saying to her, look, this opportunity isn't going as well. And it's not helping because one of the investors is quite, she's just not letting go. She's just really annoying, if I can use that word. Wow. And then she said to me, so why don't you replace her? I didn't think of that up until then. I literally didn't think of that up until then. And I'm like, do you know what? Yeah. I think I might just do that.
So you can replace investors.
I can replace them. So I just thought, you know what? I think I might do that. And that's literally why. So I just, again, got my spreadsheet out, pulled the numbers up again, put the word out there, and then I found somebody else that was happy to do the deal. And she came in and she paid her money. I just paid the other person off. And I was like, yeah, we will still be friends. Yeah. But we don't have to invest together. Wow. So that's just something on a more of a personal, note. But I guess in a real, when you're looking at doing your due diligence on your JV, you need to also ensure that you have the right personality types as well. You can't have two masters, as they say. So in that particular deal, it was my deal that I was fronting. I was the manager. Well, I was the one putting the whole thing together. It was my broker, my solicitor. I was literally getting us together on this stuff. So my friend, who also had her people, was trying to do exactly the same. So there was a lot of control stuff, more than anything else on this one. So you also have to be mindful of personality type, because it's like a marriage. So in fact, my broker said to me, every time you do a JV, you realize it's like a marriage, right? You're tying yourself to these people for a period of time. So you need to make sure that people that you can get along with, you actually not just sharing the same goal of making money, but you actually share the same value as well. So I think that's important, because ultimately you're still dealing with people. So you got to make sure that it's, and sometimes you get a sense of people before. So, and that's where your gut feel comes in. So you might get a sense that I don't think this relationship would work. Just leave it and let it go. leave it for somebody else.
Yeah.
He would work with somebody else, So
Wow.
those things are something. And I've heard stories as well where a deal hasn't gone according to plan. In fact, this example that I've just given, remember I said we had bought this property from auction and the intention was to buy, do it up, sell it, and move on. We haven't sold that property till date.
Okay.
Because we couldn't. So we realized, because a lot of things didn't go quite as we had planned, we ended up paying a bit more than we had planned to pay. So that literally took some of our profit. So we took a decision to not sell and just hold on to the deal so that we can, give it time to make us a bit more money.
Yeah.
So that in itself could be an issue in a JV where there is a plan to do one thing and it hasn't gone to that plan. That could cause a JV to go wrong.
Okay.
But I think now, knowing what I know, when you're going into such opportunities, you say, look, this is the strategy. This is the exit plan. However, as none of us have a crystal ball, if it doesn't go to this plan, we are going to do this, and that. Are we
plan
all
B,
happy?
C, D. Okay.
Yeah, so have plan B, or at least have the opportunity to move into a different plan so that it doesn't come as a shock to me. So you don't have somebody saying, sorry, I want my money now. You're thinking, well, how are you going to get your money? We haven't sold the property. Or how are you going to get your money? We're going to sell it at a loss. We're obviously not going to sell it at a loss. Those things have to be factored into the contract. So again, like I said, the reason why JV would ever go wrong is because we haven't sat down and thought about the possible scenarios. When you sit down and think about the possible scenarios, good, bad, and ugly, and you discuss it as a team and you get everybody on board, chances are, if that scenario ever plays out, we've had an opportunity to discuss it, and you probably won't have the issue that you would have. So most times JVs go wrong because we just haven't covered all the bases.
Okay.
Because when you do, it shouldn't go wrong. Yeah. And it shouldn't, because I look at it, and this is the best way I like to describe it, is if you're into stocks and shares and you have, like, say, for Amazon share, for example, you don't own the whole of Amazon. You just have a share or two shares in Amazon. But you don't get upset because Amazon has 1 million other people on the same deal. True. No, you just concentrate on your share and your return on your money, and you keep it pushing. And that's how it is with JV. If you can just concentrate on your bit, you can easily invest with 1 million people. It shouldn't make a difference. You put in your bid, you know exactly what you're getting into, you know what the outcome is, you know what it is. And if it works according to plan, Now, if Amazon shares go up and down, do you go calling Amazon and say, sorry, mate, you haven't given me what I expected you to give me? You don't do that, because you already know it's an investment. There's a risk element. It could go up, it could go down. You ride the wave. If you want to pull out and take your money, you do. If you don't, you stay and you just ride it. And it's the same with joint venture property. You just put in your money, expect the best, and expect the worst as well sometimes, and just find a way around it, and it would work.
And it's all of this stuff is long term. It's definitely we're thinking. I know you mentioned the short term, but generally is from a long term perspective, because you mentioned 5 years before, and I think that's very important for a lot of people to understand when you're putting your money in all of this stuff. You're gonna get your money in 5 years. I think some people.
And in fact, you get your money along the way as well. You get your rental income along the way. So you're literally getting money as you go along. Plus, your original investment is still in and the property still stands, and it's always increasing in
value.
Value. So it's amazing.
Wow, it sounds like such a good opportunity, and I think I haven't done that, but I'm definitely interested in doing that with people, because, like you said, you can get yourself onto different deals. You can do different strategies that you've never thought about doing. Potentially. So I think it's definitely. I think it's important, and I think it's a very good avenue to get yourself onto the property ladder, of course, provided you vet people and things like that. But I think that's like any sort of investment, like I talk quite a lot about investing in stocks. You have to do a lot of due diligence in there. Of course, there's no, like you said, there's no crystal ball. You can never get everything 100% right, but you'll do the best due diligence you can, and you hope for something good to come out of it. Wow, it's been so good, and not enough people talk about property venture, and I think it's because they're worried about owning property with other people. So the final question I actually had for you is: do you think, if you had the money, you think it's better to get your property outright, if you could afford, or get into a joint venture?
JVO.
Really? Okay.
I will give you a good analogy. So an example. So the reason why we get mortgages is leverage, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if I had £100,000, I could easily get, let's say property. Okay, let's put it this way: the property price is 100K, and I have 100K. Should I? The question. So literally, this is the question you just asked me. Should I buy the property with 100K outright, or should I get 5 properties with a mortgage?
Yeah.
That's the opposite side of the question you just asked.
Okay.
I'm just literally just giving you a different scenario.
Yeah.
So if you have 100,000 today and the property is 100,000, if you put all of your 100K into this one property, yes, you don't have a mortgage. Yes, you're not tied to the bank, but you only have this one asset. If it goes down, that's your money gone down. If it goes up, that's your money gone. But you only have that one asset. So your net worth is just that one asset.
Yeah.
However, the power of leverage means if you have 100K and you could put in 20K into 5 separate properties and get the rest on a mortgage, you actually now own 5 properties. Your net worth has gone 5 times what it would have been.
Yeah.
If you had purchased the one with 100K cash.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with JV. If you have 100K right now, you could easily take that 100K and buy one property with a mortgage and it's entirely yours. But that's it. One property. But you could also take your 100K and go into 5 different JVs with other people, and you actually own a part of 5 different properties.
Okay.
Your net worth is definitely not the same as if you put the whole 100K into one property. So that's the best way to look at it. And I have people that do that. So I have friends, I have, clients that have a big pot of money, and I've said to them, I'd rather you just split this in joint venture opportunities than to just buy this one property.
Okay.
Because you literally increase your net worth dramatically when you do that. Yes, fair enough. You don't own 100% of those JVs, but you own a share. So as it goes up, so does your share go up.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. And again, I don't understand why some people are against joint venture, because when you do shared ownership, you are joint venturing with the developer.
True. Yeah.
And he ain't going to give you much of a choice.
Not giving you a lot.
He's not giving you a lot.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You are joint. So we do joint venture all the time. We just don't realize it.
Yeah.
And I also use big corporations. So think about Virgin Atlantic. Virgin is in a JV with Delta Airline. Okay. Is in a JV with KLM and Air France and what other airline? There are like 4 of them or 5 of them, and they all work together.
Wow.
British Airways does the same. British Airways, American Airline, Iberia Airline, they work together. So you're telling me that British Airways couldn't do this stuff by themselves? Yeah. They could. They probably could. But there's a reason why they're JVing with other people. JV is the way to go. Yeah. Like all day, every day. Okay. It is because if big companies can do that, who are you not to be able to do that? You just have to trust the process. But it's a game changer. It's an absolute game changer. Wow. JV. So the moment I realized because initially I thought, okay, I was just doing it, I just wanted to buy a property and I just needed a couple of people to help. But no, actually, I realized actually I could do a lot more when I do it with other people. And then now I realized that actually a lot more people can get into property if they just go in as a JV. Yeah. So now, I mean, over the last 2 years, I've raised, oh gosh, I had this written down somewhere. I definitely have raised over £1 million just in JV money, not mortgage, just 10K, 5K, 20K, 30K, just bits and bits and bits, because it adds up, right? I've raised, definitely over £1 million in just cash. Wow. Like, if you told me that Black people had 100 million somewhere, like 5, like, do you understand? Like, you don't realize the power of what you're doing until you've done it. So we raised, over $1 million in just JV cash. We've bought, in total, I think last time I counted, maybe about 12, 13 properties, different properties with different people. I've helped through this JV. This JV has helped, maybe over 30 people. Wow. To own property, own a piece of an asset. Wow. So it's amazing. Like, it's amazing. So for me now, it's not just a thing. It's a passion. It's almost like it's an assignment. Yeah. Just get as many people empower as many people as you can to get, and this is wealth creation we're talking about. We're not just buying properties, we are building wealth. We're creating opportunity, not just for whoever the person that is JV, but their children and their children's children.
Yeah.
So it's so powerful. It's amazing.
Wow. You heard it there, listeners, joint venture. It's been great speaking to you today about joint venture, and I think it's also opened my mindset. As you were speaking about, I was like, actually, because I keep on thinking, I'm just gonna save, deposit with my wife, we're gonna buy together. But actually, maybe we should be thinking, let's buy with our close friends who also have money. Let's get something bigger. Let's do even better than that. So I think that is definitely the mindset shift that I've had with the conversation with you today, and I think this is why we get people like yourself, property experts, on the podcast. Where can people find you if they want to reach out to you, want to speak to you about property ventures? So
I am on Instagram, Bimbola Saige. You can find me on Clubhouse from time to time.
Okay.
But the best place to find me is on Instagram, Bimbola Saige. Yeah. And also I can share my number as well. I'm happy to speak to people if they want to speak to me on WhatsApp. I will get back to you, definitely. I might not get back to you on the same day.
Okay.
And by email. So I will share my email address and telephone number, and Instagram can DM me.
Okay, perfect. And any final words for the listeners?
Any final words? I think, so there's a scripture that I love so much, and it says, a good man leaves an inheritance for not just his children, but his children's children.
Okay. So
if you are a good man or a good woman, there is an onus on you to leave. And when we're talking about inheritance, we're not just talking about money now. I'm actually thinking about the property. It's I think every person should aim to leave property for not just their children, but their children's children, to create wealth, to leave an inheritance for those that are coming after you. And I think one of the things that I absolutely love about property is it's not racist, it's not prejudice, it's not like anyone can get into property. Especially if you're in the UK, you have a job, you have a good income, you have good credit, you can buy a property. Yeah. You can literally buy a property. And the government is looking to make sure that that's possible for everyone. So I love that about this UK government. They make it possible so let's start with home ownership. Let's just start with ownership, to start with. And then let's start to think about investing into more things. Yeah. So I think, a good man or woman should look and aim to get into the property space, and so that they can leave it to those that are coming after them. Yeah. It's so good to own. And if you live and work in a country, you should aim to own a piece of that country. Yeah. Don't just live here. Don't just work here, pay all those taxes. Gosh, all those taxes. Own a part of this land. Yeah. Own a part of this land. So that would be my final word. Own a part of the land. And if it means doing it by yourself or doing it with a JV, then just make sure you own a part of this land. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Own a part of the land. Yeah. Not just pay taxes. Don't just pay taxes here. Own it. Wow. You heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Own a piece of this land. Own a piece of this land. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Takeoff Podcast, and we'll see you next week.